All right, here's a brutal truth. Most executives never rise above the VP level, right? They stall out, they plateau, and it's not because they're not talented, it's just because they've never made the leap from being great at execution to being seen as someone who can actually shape the future of an organization. So today, I'm breaking down the 5 biggest reasons, right, executives get stuck at VP and the real playbook for the breakthrough. And I'll even share some examples from clients and companies where I've seen this happen. So if you've ever wondered, right, why your career feels like it's slowed down or how to finally push back that ceiling, push past it, this is for you. Most VPs are exceptional executors, right? They deliver, they know how to run their division, they manage people, they hit their numbers, and they make operations smooth. But here's the trap. They stay stuck in execution mode. They're managing the machine instead of redesigning it. And boards and CEOs don't promote people who execute to the C-suite. They promote architects. That's, they want people who's going to say, here's where the market's moving. Here's how we're going to seize it. Here's how to reposition our business model for the next 5 years. Think about Kodak, right? They had brilliant VPs who executed flawlessly on film manufacturing, but none of them stepped up and said, the future's in digital, right? The company had the talent to run operations, but not the vision to pivot. And that's the execution trap, and it killed them. So ask yourself, are you still designing your impact as like tasks and deliverables? Or are you talking about growth, market share, customer trends, competitive advantages? If you're not making that shift, you're gonna show up forever as a VP. The next reason people plateau is simple. They're valuable, but invisible. I've coached lots of VPs who were keeping billion-dollar product lines alive, but nobody outside their function even knew their name. They were like the best kept secret of the company. And guess what? Secrets don't get promoted, ladies and gentlemen. The C-suite is as much as about perception as performance. And if you're not visible across the enterprise, you're not seen as someone who can lead the enterprise. That means you need to get out of your silo, present at cross-functional meetings, volunteer for those enterprise-wide projects, right? And make sure that those other leaders, not just our boss, see our judgment, our presence, and our ability to influence. Quick example, right? I had a client who was a VP of IT at a Fortune 500. He was brilliant, flawless systems, but no one outside IT even knew who he was, right? He started making a priority to be present at board updates, collaborate with marketing on data projects, and get into discussions with finance about cost optimizations. 18 months later, he wasn't just the IT guy. He was a business leader with visibility. That's when the COO role opened, and guess who they considered? Him. So yes, deliver value. But if you're not visible, you're invisible. And you can't get promoted if you're invisible. Here's another brutal truth. Mentorship is overrated. Mentorship, it'll help you grow, but sponsorship is what helps you get promoted. Here's the difference. Mentors will give you advice. Sponsors will use their political capital to get you opportunities. Every executive who breaks through VP has sponsors. People who, when the doors are closed and the promotions are being decided, they say, hey, we need her at the table. We should bet on him. Think about Sheryl Sandberg at Facebook, right? Mark Zuckerberg wasn't just her boss. He was her sponsor. He bet his reputation on her and gave her the influence over the entire business. So the question isn't, do you have a mentor? The real question is, man, who is advocating for you behind these closed doors? And here's the hack. Sponsorship isn't just luck. You earn sponsors by making powerful people's lives easier. You deliver results for them. You support their agenda. You prove your judgment is so sound that they're not embarrassed to back you. One of my clients had 2 failed attempts at promotion to SVP. Smart, talented, no sponsor. Once we mapped out who actually held the power in the decision process and built authentic relationships with them, what do you know? Things changed. Within a year, he got sponsors 2 levels above them, push him forward. This is how the game works in corporate America. Now, most VPs, right, rise by mastering their function. Finance, ops, sales, marketing, etc. That functional excellence, right, will get you to VP. But here's when they hit the wall. They never make the leap beyond their function. And the C-suite doesn't need the world's best marketer or finance lead. It needs strategists who see across the entire business, right? You don't get promoted to CEO because you're the best at one department. You get promoted because, you understand how the whole system fits together, right? How finance affects product, how product impacts sales, how sales impacts culture, and how culture impacts growth. You know, think about Satya Nadella at Microsoft, right? He came up through engineering, but he didn't stop there. He started leading across cloud strategy, business development, global ops. And by the time Steve Ballmer stepped down, Nadella wasn't just an engineer. He was a business strategist and saw across the whole enterprise. That's the leap. If you're still arguing over like tactical marketing campaigns or quarterly budget allocations, you're thinking like a VP. And if you're framing those discussions as part of a larger enterprise play, you're showing up as a C-suite. Now, the last reason people stall out, comfort. Let's be honest, VP is a comfortable spot. Big title, big paycheck, respect, power, feels good, right? And a lot of people stay there. But comfort kills growth, you know that. The execs who break through, they're the ones who seek out calculated risks. That might mean taking a lateral move to a global role, moving industries, accepting a high visibility assignment that could blow up. Every C-leader exec I've coached has a story of a bold career move that scared them, but positioned them for the leap. You know, one client of mine had been a VP of Ops for years, safe, comfortable, but he took on an international turnaround project. It was messy, high pressure, high risk. That single move made him visible to the global CEO. And 3 years later, he's COO. The people who never take the risk, they're still sitting in the same VP chair wondering, why isn't anything changing? Let's put all of this together. Why do people plateau a VP? They fall into the execution trap. They're running the machine instead of shaping it. They're valuable, but they're invisible. They got mentors, but who do they not have? Sponsors. They never leap beyond their function into any enterprise strategy. And then they choose comfort over risk. Now, if you recognize yourself in any of these traps, the good news is now you can fix it. The bad news is the time is ticking. The higher you go, the smaller the window gets to prove you can play at the top. So my challenge to you, pick one of these 5 today. Which trap are you in, right? What's one bold move that you can make this quarter to break out of it? And if you're serious about breaking through to that C-suite, hit subscribe below. And if you want us to help you map out your next move, you know where to find us over at Executive Career Upgrades or at execupgrades.com.